The congressional hearing room fell into a stunned silence. On the large screen before them, grainy black and white footage began to play, its authenticity confirmed by military officials. The video, captured from the targeting pod of a U.S. fighter jet, showed a small, glowing orb moving erratically against the night sky. It was a sight many had seen before in blurry online videos, but this was different. This was official. This was a moment that would change the conversation forever. The tension in the room was palpable as the pilot's calm, professional voice narrated the events, describing an object that defied all known principles of aerodynamics, moving with an agility that no man-made craft could replicate. The footage continued, tracking the UAP as it hovered, then darted across the screen with impossible speed. Then came the critical moment. On command, a missile streaked from the wing of the American aircraft, a thin line of fire racing toward the silent, glowing target. Spectators leaned forward, a collective breath held in anticipation. The missile closed the distance in seconds. It was a perfect shot, a direct hit aimed at neutralizing a potential threat. But the expected fireball never came. Instead, something utterly astonishing happened. Just as the missile was about to make contact, the glowing orb seemed to absorb the impact. There was no explosion, no debris, no sign of destruction whatsoever. The object pulsed with a brilliant flash of light, then continued its silent, indifferent journey across the sky. The missile had vanished without a trace, consumed by the mysterious energy of the UAP. The pilot's voice, once calm, now carried a note of disbelief and awe as he reported the outcome. The implications of what the committee had just witnessed were staggering. At the heart of this historic hearing were three men who had risked their careers and reputations to bring their extraordinary experiences to light. David Grush, David Fravor, Ryan Graves. David Grush, a former high-ranking intelligence official who had served with the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. He had also served with the UAP task force. Grush was not a pilot who had a fleeting encounter. He was an insider tasked with investigating these phenomena. He spoke with the measured, precise language of an intelligence officer. He detailed his discovery of a multi-decade UAP crash retrieval program. He described a reverse engineering program. He said this program had been illegally withheld from congressional oversight for years. Commander David Fravor, a retired U.S. Navy pilot with a distinguished career. Fravor recounted his now famous 2004 Tic Tac encounter off the California coast. He described a smooth, white, oblong object, about 40 feet long, no wings, no rotors, no visible means of propulsion. It moved with an impossible velocity, dropping from 80,000 feet to just above the ocean in a matter of seconds, far exceeding the capabilities of his FA-18 Super Hornet. Fravor spoke as a credible, highly trained observer, a fighter pilot at the top of his game. He witnessed something that fundamentally challenged his understanding of physics and technology. The third key witness was Ryan Graves, another former Navy pilot representing a new generation of aviators. Graves spoke not of a single event, but a consistent, ongoing series of sightings starting in 2014. His squadron began detecting strange objects on radar daily. The testimony delved deep into the specific characteristics of the unidentified craft, moving beyond vague descriptions of flying saucers. Commander Fravor's account of the Tic Tac object was particularly riveting. He described it as a solid, perfectly smooth white craft, shaped like the popular breath mint. No wings, no windows, no visible exhaust plumes. Its movements were what truly set it apart. Fravor explained how the object mirrored the movements of his fighter jet, then accelerated at a speed he had never witnessed. It disappeared and reappeared 60 miles away in less than a minute. This was not just fast, a propulsion system beyond our current understanding. Ryan Graves added another layer with his squadron's repeated encounters. Pilots were frequently detecting dark gray or black cubes inside of a clear sphere. These objects could remain completely stationary for hours, even in high winds. Then they would suddenly accelerate to supersonic speeds without producing a sonic boom. The consistency of these sightings off the East Coast suggested a pattern. Beyond the Tic Tacs and the cubes, witnesses also described enormous black triangles, some allegedly as large as a football field, that could hover motionless for long periods before gliding away without a sound. These massive objects were often seen at low altitudes over military bases or over rural areas. Their sheer size and silence inspired both awe and fear. A central and deeply troubling theme of the hearing was the claim that elements within the U.S. government have been actively concealing the truth about UAPs for decades. David Grush's testimony was the most explosive in this regard. As a trusted intelligence insider, he alleged the existence of a highly secretive, illegal program dedicated to studying crashed, non-human craft, landed non-human craft. He claimed this program has operated without any congressional oversight, funded through the misappropriation of funds, and has gone to extreme lengths to maintain its secrecy. It effectively created a government within the government not accountable to the American people or their elected representatives. The whistleblowers also described a culture of ridicule and professional reprisal that has long silenced pilots and other military personnel who dared to report what they saw. Ryan Graves spoke of the stigma attached to filing a UAP report, explaining that for a long time, a pilot who reported seeing something strange was more likely to be sent for a psychological evaluation than to be taken seriously. This created a powerful disincentive to report sightings, meaning the data available to analysts was incomplete, as many pilots chose to remain silent rather than risk their careers. This official policy of discouragement and ridicule effectively ensured that the problem would remain in the shadows. Grush took these allegations a step further, testifying that he was aware of very brutal tactics used to intimidate and to silence individuals connected to these secret programs. He told Congress he had personally faced very brutal retaliation after coming forward and that he knew of people who had been harmed or even killed in connection with the effort to keep the UAP reality a secret. The congressional hearing was not just a stage for the whistleblowers, it was a demonstration of a growing bipartisan determination to force the issue of UAP transparency into the open. Lawmakers from across the political spectrum, including Representative Tim Burchett, Representative Anna Paulina Luna, and Representative Jared Moskowitz, led the charge, asking pointed and direct questions. They made it clear that, honestly, they were tired of the evasiveness and stonewalling. From the Pentagon and intelligence agencies for years, their tone was not one of idle curiosity but of serious legislative oversight, signaling that the era of dismissing this topic with a smirk was officially over. These members of Congress repeatedly expressed their frustration with the difficulty of getting straight answers. They recounted being denied access to classified briefings and facilities where UAP-related information was allegedly being held. Representative Burchett, a vocal advocate for disclosure, stated bluntly that the cover-up was real and that he had been blocked at every turn by a bureaucratic machine determined to protect its secrets. Their public statements validated the whistleblowers' claims of a deeply entrenched system of secrecy, showing that even elected officials with security clearances were being kept out of the loop on this critical issue. One of the most significant outcomes of the hearing was the unified call for legislative action. The committee members discussed the need for new laws that would provide a safe and secure channel for more whistleblowers to come forward without fear of reprisal. They also pushed for granting the Inspector General and Congress the authority and clearance needed to investigate Grush's claims thoroughly. The goal was to dismantle the system of secrecy by creating legal protections and mandates for transparency, ensuring that information of such profound public interest could no longer be hidden away in unauthorized, off-the-books programs. While the whistleblowers were the main event, their testimony was amplified by dedicated journalists and independent researchers who'd pursued this for years. Leslie Kean, 2017 New York Times story credited her work. Her evidence-based approach using credible military and government sources helped pave the way for the hearing. Journalists built a bridge between secretive military encounters and the public's right to know. Ross Coulthart helped bring David Grush's story to light. Careful vetting, in-depth interviews made extraordinary claims media and Congress ready. Journalists acted as investigators corroborating sources, building a compelling case. Their presence highlighted a free press holding institutions accountable. Researchers and scientists outside government also contributed. SCU, the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies analyzing sensor data radar, returns eyewitness testimony. Independent validation supported pilots' flight characteristics claims. Experts translated technical jargon explaining why these objects are a scientific anomaly. Combined, journalists and experts created a supportive ecosystem. Throughout the hearing, there was a clear and persistent demand for more than just testimony, however credible. Lawmakers and the public alike wanted to see the hard evidence. The high-resolution videos, the radar data, the sensor readings, any physical materials that may have been recovered. David Grush testified he had given the Inspector General locations where non-human biologics and recovered craft were held. That bombshell shifted the focus toward tangible proof and gave Congress a roadmap. Whistleblowers emphasized the quality of the data that they say exists but was being withheld. These encounters were not just visual sightings. They were tracked on advanced radar and sensor systems. Spy-1 radar on Navy destroyers targeting pods on jets. All of this equipment collected vast amounts of flight data. If released and analyzed by the scientific community, this data could provide definitive proof. It could also unlock new understandings of physics and propulsion. The idea of exceptional evidence became a recurring theme. Some argued the standard of evidence should match the extraordinary claims. Eyewitness testimony from decorated pilots is compelling, but the goal is physical proof that can be independently studied. That includes metallurgical analysis of recovered materials. Grush claimed those materials show unusual atomic structures and isotopic ratios not found on Earth. Congress is pushing to use subpoena power to compel the DoD and agencies to turn over evidence to a cleared scientific body. This focus on hard evidence is crucial to move the UAP conversation forward. Testimony opened the door, but scientific validation is needed to understand what we're dealing with. The hearing was a means to force release of data and materials allegedly hidden for decades. The congressional hearing did not happen in a vacuum. It exploded into the public consciousness, dominating news cycles and social media platforms around the globe. For the first time, the UAP topic was treated with uniform seriousness by major news outlets, moving from the weird news section to the front page. Public reaction was a mixture of vindication, shock, and intense curiosity. For the millions of people who have long believed in the reality of UFOs, the hearing was a moment of profound validation, a sign that their beliefs were not just fantasy. For many others, it was a startling wake-up call that forced them to reconsider their place in the universe. The testimony left the public and lawmakers grappling with a host of profound and unsettling questions. If these objects are not from a foreign adversary, where are they from? Are they extraterrestrial, interdimensional, or something else entirely? What is their intent? Their ability to disable our most advanced weaponry without aggression suggests a level of power and restraint that is difficult to comprehend. And perhaps most disturbingly, if a small, unelected group within the government has been hiding this reality for decades, what other secrets are they keeping from the American people and the world? The international reaction was equally significant. Governments and media outlets from other countries watched the proceedings closely. Other nations are now being forced to confront the possibility that their own airspace may be subject to the same incursions. Ultimately, the hearing created a new baseline for the public conversation. The question is no longer do UFOs exist, but rather what are they, and what does the